How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm just going to go and do a nice little easy one. It's called Containers in the River. It's on Northport, and I've got to grab two containers near to a watchtower and take them down to the port. Nothing too bad. I'm going to go and take the ANK again for this one because, to be honest, since using this yesterday, I actually really enjoyed it. Like, it's got a hell of a lot of power, this thing has, and yeah, it used to drive me mad how much it tips and everything. But since doing that thing with the suspension, like the tyres where you can add the larger size tyres without having to go have the raised suspension. Yeah, it's been pretty damn good. It doesn't make it untippable or anything like that, but it just feels like it's now in a usable state where you can actually go and do things, and that's not like just screwing you over every 5 minutes. Another one I wouldn't mind trying it on is the Royal. I'm gonna have to rescue it on this map at some point, and yeah, I might just go back to my first playthrough and test quite a few different things out, but it's the closest thing, I suppose, so far on consoles that we can get to mods until they actually bloody add the things and add this next phase of DLC. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I kind of was interested in changing on a lot of trucks anyway, particularly, say, like the twin steer's another one. I definitely prefer the bigger size tyres because it just fits well with like the speed in high range and all the rest of it, but yeah, that can tip fairly easily as well, whereas it'll be interesting to try it with the lowered suspension. Somebody was saying as well, the Taiga, if you have like the custom muds on it and do the same trick so it's on a lowered suspension, that's apparently pretty much untippable, which I can well believe because it's pretty damn hard to tip anyway, as is. So yeah, it's just a good thing overall, really. It's helped revive a few trucks that are probably less used, and helped, I mean, like this truck for example, it's a perfectly good truck in this game. It's a very solid truck, but it's kind of given enough rope to hang itself with its own tippiness that makes it kind of fall down the list of trucks you'd want to take with you, really. As well, by the way, I was bringing the Navistar with me because yeah, I've got to go and grab 2 lots of cargo containers, and I need a crane anyway, so yeah, I had to bring something with me. It was a choice between, I could have used the Navistar and the ramped flatbed to do this one, but I believe I did that with my first playthrough and it all went fine, it all went smoothly enough. But yeah, all things considered, like I said, I don't really drive this truck a whole lot, and this has sort of given me a pretty good chance to give it a little test. And so far, it seems to actually be doing pretty nice in snow, because I think normally I have the dual rears and stuff on this, and I've never really been a big fan of the ANK in snow. It's not to say it's terrible, it's just the Dolphin, for example, like motors along in most snow except the Trollish Super Snow, but that'll motor along in high range all day long, really. Like the ANK was always a little bit slower, and like I said, rarely if ever got stuck, but it was just never really high on the list of like dominant trucks in the snow. Yeah, it certainly wasn't one I'd be picking first. There's plenty of other options to go with. It's just funny that you found it on like Pedro Bay, obviously a snowy map, and I'd say it's a lot better, a lot more solid on, yeah, Tamir, that kind of area, and Michigan. But no, it don't like the ice. Funny enough, actually, I was reading earlier with there's a massive iceberg. Apparently it's the biggest iceberg in the world or something. They called it A68A, which is just already shown a distinct lack of sense of humour. They obviously didn't want to call it 69, so they called it 68A. That's already ruined it for me. But yeah, it's going to apparently drift next to or into an island called, I don't know, South Georgia, which we apparently own, which is probably just a modern way of saying we fund, but we don't actually get anything in return. And yeah, they're saying if it crashes or lands next to the island, that it could endanger local seals and penguins and everything, just because its normal foraging route will be blocked. It's like, so you've got to walk around a piece of ice, basically. Some of these winter animals need to toughen up or fuck off and move somewhere safer. It's like with polar bears. I like polar bears, don't get me wrong. They make a very nice Coca-Cola advert. Fox's Glacier Mints, they do a good job on that one as well. But it's like, why do 7 billion people around the planet have to stop driving various cars and bloody emissions taxes and all this shit just because that thing wants to live on a fucking iceberg? So that's not my problem. I'd like to live in a mansion. When are the polar bears going to have a whip around for me? Right, lazy fuckers. I mean, you look at a seal. A seal is just a metaphor for a creature that's given up on every scale possible. It's like nature's sausages. It's even its own appendages, its own legs and arms were like, well, we're not really needed, are we? And then it just turned into like a giant blob that does the worm along the beach and eats things occasionally. And now They're saying, oh no, it's got to walk around an iceberg. Fucking good. We'll give it something to do. That's what it gets for complaining for the last 10 fucking years that it hasn't got enough ice, and then suddenly the giant sheet of ice slams into its island. It's like, oh god, we've got too much ice. That's like somebody saying, oh no, my normal foraging route to the fridge is blocked by a Lamborghini that I'm going to have to walk around. Oh, the horror. I mean, is there ever actually going to be like a Goldilocks amount of ice? Or is it... I mean, quite possibly. It could be that a lot of these large-scale charities that exist, their whole business model is predicated on, oh god, everything's broken and we need money to fix it. So I don't think anything that'll ever get reported anymore these days as like, oh yeah, this is a good thing. This is just the right amount of ice. Don't send any more money. These fat little fuckers are fine. Then again, actually, I don't really know if I like the thought of an in-shape seal. Imagine a seal with like abs and a six-pack, fucking power running down the beach. I think we'll just stick to fat seals actually. Okay, take that ice away. Give them all the money they need. Anyway, back to the game. That was kind of playing in the background. These cranes are still painfully weak. Somebody was saying in the comments, well, and I've wanted to do this before, I've attempted it a couple of times, like testing not only the winches, like various different winches on each truck versus the scouts, etc. I also have tried, I think 3, possibly 4 times already, to do like a crane video as well, lifting various vehicles, seeing if like the winches make a difference to the crane's strength, etc. But 2 things I keep noticing is, one, they seem to keep changing strength from like week to week. I assume when they update various things in the game it might be like an unintended knock-on effect. But yeah, the other thing is as well, they don't really feel very consistent, even within like minute by minute. It's kind of like when I tested them a little while ago and it was with the cranes, but I did notice the cranes theoretically had more or less power depending which winches you used. And when I originally tested it, it was pretty obvious it was like the strongest winches lifted more. But yeah, then I kept trying it, testing it out, and I was lifting a TranStar, I believe, and I had all different like big cranes, little cranes, etc. And yeah, it just couldn't manage it. It was like 1 minute it'd lift it. Sometimes the top heavy winch would lift the TranStar completely in the air. Other times it couldn't get it off the ground, or it'd get the nose up, but it couldn't actually lift the truck off the ground. And then I tested it like a couple of weeks later and it was the opposite way around, where I think it was the stock winch was now the best one most of the time, but then it still had its hiccups and everything. What I was originally waiting for, because part of like they're supposed to be adding mods, I believe / hope that we get some of these testing ground maps. Like, I've not really seen much around them, but I've seen like the title of videos and that popping up in the with the thumbnails that just say like the summer proving grounds or whatever. So yeah, I will have a little play around with the winches and that, because just for my own curiosity, I suppose it'd be good to test them again. But yeah, I might make a video. It depends really if I can actually get some kind of conclusive result and have some actual information other than just saying who knows, they seem to do what they like. Anyway, I kind of took the piss going around this corner a bit. I went for a little drift. I knew the risks. To be fair, I actually think the back end of the ANK clipped the snow, and that just sent me. Funnily enough, I've noticed this recently. I think the Mark II Dolphin is still on Smithville Dam, and just for some reason, every time I click on it, the crane does a 360. Which, yeah, you just seen it do it there. But anyway, yeah, flip the ANK, so I've got to send this little beast in, got to send Stevie Wonder in. I wonder if they'll ever change like how smoky it gets. To be fair, once you're going along like that, I'm not 100%, but it does seem a little bit toned down sometimes. Certainly when you first set off, it does chug a hell of a lot of smoke out and you can't really see anything, and when you get like gear changes like that, but overall I think that's slightly better than it used to be. But you can certainly tell now once you're actually just yeah. Like, that's what I usually do, is just drive along with my camera on an angle, because I can actually see what I'm doing. Or, do it like this. Let the loaf guide you. Wishful thinking. Very superstitious. See, I had a nice little trailer set up on my other playthrough of this game, on that corner. There's perfect for drifting around. A nice little shot of Ken Loaf. Doing a nice little drift around there. Again, with the gutless cranes, all I wanted to do was try and hoover it in. One of the problems with the cranes is when there's too much weight on it, it just auto-extends the arm. So it's like, even if you manage to, retract the crane in so you can actually lift something, you get halfway to trying to lift it back onto your sideboard or something, and it's suddenly like the crane just auto-extends and then drops it, so it's a bit of a pain. I really wish they would sort that out. That's what I don't get, like, for example, when they updated the Cat 745C used to be able to carry single cargo and double cargo, and they updated it so it can only carry, it might not even just be double cargo, it might even just be cargo containers now, because like the rear thing does say a cargo container carrier or whatever, but still, it was like, that was the most unnecessary, least needed change that the game, like, the Cat 745C isn't remotely overpowered, hardly anyone uses it really long term. I've used it every now and then. When I originally scouted White Valley, I scouted the whole map with the Cat 745C, and top speed aside, it was pretty solid, and it was pretty easy to actually scout the whole map. I didn't really have any issues, but yeah, you're not really going to be calling upon that thing to clear a whole map of missions, and yet they nerfed it and made it even even less options available. And yet with bigger things in this game that they could really do with patching or sorting out or tweaking, etc. I mean, good example, Derry 4520 and its a crappy engine. And yet, there's nothing. I mean, what's this game been out, 6-7 months or whatever, and they've not done anything to the Derry. And that's what I was saying the other week, where I kind of think they're sort of leaving it to mods to sort out, which is a little bit slack. So you can see there as well, I had to retract the crane in a bit because it wasn't quite going to lift it. Oh yeah, another thing as well, when I completed that mission yesterday, I got up to level 8, so I've actually managed to unlock like the 51 inch, I believe they are on this ANK, but I've got the off-road tyres on, so it's, I believe, the bigger version of the ones that you originally find it with, because yesterday, I think I had the all-terrain instead, which, the all-terrain aren't terrible, but I would definitely say the off-road is better than them, and then, if you can, muds are good. I have muds on a fair few things. I mean, I've got muds on my Loafs, goddamn little horse of a vehicle with them on, but yeah, just the amount of times that I travel to icy maps, it's just not really worth putting other things on, like just, again, with a chain, they're kind of pretty good fit and forget. It's pushing me luck a little bit, went for a little drift around the corner, but again, without chained, the front end just didn't bite in. At least I didn't completely wipe my truck out or roll and crash it all a few feet from the end, which I did earlier on another mission. I honestly rolled it about a quarter of a truck length from the square I needed to get to. Yeah, we got there in the end. We insulted some ice-loving creatures along the way. Had a pretty good time. Nice little bit of XP, nothing too special, but it'll do. And just one last quick thing. I'll take it down here, but what I wanted to test with this is because I've got the lowered suspension on, quite often you can catch your nose on them posts, but the fact that this didn't means it really doesn't affect it that bad at all. So definitely worth trying. Anyway, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, thanks to my Patreon members, and I'll be back soon.